Alright, and welcome to Art of the Variation in the crutch drill section of the bow drill. And so I have a couple interesting crutch drills to show you, but first we're going to go through them in the order of sitting, kneeling, and standing. So I have a few interesting ones to show you first with sitting. They're all obviously shorter spindles. I have three really to show you, but I'm going to do two. First one is chestnut, and it is a reloader torque spindle. Okay. Now this one is at the base is 1.25 inches in diameter for the torque spindle, and here we have a reload of ash, which you saw earlier, which, as you know, is the is very high on the Jonka scale. Okay, and we're going to do that on the board of ash as well. This is a walnut one, which is a little taller. Actually, the chestnut here is 11.5 inches tall without the reload. This walnut one is 14 inches tall, and it has no reload. So, the other one I'll show you is, well, I'll get to that anyway. So, another way you could do it sitting is to do cross-legged style, Indian style if you want to call it that. And what I do is I usually take one shoe, okay, and whatever leg you're going to have down, here I have my left leg down, I put a shoe underneath that. That's going to help hold the board, because basically if you lay your shin down here, there's a little bit of a space that allows the board to kind of slip and slide around. So the shoe adds a little bit more stability and friction to keep that base from moving. Okay. So our ash board, which we're going to do first, is going to go under the shoe. So what we have here is an X, really. We have the ash, then we have the shoe, and then my leg goes straight across. Then my other leg either goes inside to do a cross-legged, or you could do kind of a lotus position, which is your leg goes on top of your other leg like this. Okay. Make sure you have enough room and enough space. Now in this X position, where the board is sticking out, if I were to lean over just a little bit, it's right under my shoulder. Okay. Now, let's see. Should we use let's see if we can't do this on the hickory maul handle pressure arm brace. We're going to use my moderated version with the bow. The string is 1.5 times the length of the bow. Okay, and we string up like we did before. Make sure that's worked down. Got a lot of good tension. Okay. Should I work that up? Just that. Get everything out of the way. Now I have a hose clamp here, so I need a little bit of clearance for that. And again, this fits right under your armpit. Lean forward a little bit. That's right under my shoulder. Now the thing is, if you can't get into the classic bow drill, Egyptian drill position, like a shiko kind of up on your leg and brace it up against your leg, you may try this one. It seems a little bit more stable because you're basically just seated. But the thing about this is you're really leaning, and your back may get involved a little bit trying to push down. You should actually, instead of trying to push down, you should actually just kind of like lay on top of it with your body weight instead. All right. So you're not going to get your whole body weight on this thing because you're basically seated. So it's, in a way, you're not going to get as much pressure possibly than you would with the classic bow drill, Egyptian drill position, just because of how this goes. So when we get into the kneeling and the standing position, obviously you're going to have much more ability to add pressure with your body weight. Okay. So we just warm this up. Now the thing is too is that you're in a tight space, and instead of having your whole arm to be able to pull back and forth, you're limited on space. So this is kind of short up in here, and you're kind of pushing and pulling, and you're using muscles you wouldn't normally use. You can't. You're using a lot of minor muscles instead of major muscles. To keep that in mind. So let's just warm this up. As you can see, it's smoking. We got to make this up with speed, obviously, because the dowel is larger than the reload. Oof, it's powerful smoke. So we got us our first coal here. Let it smolder. Give it a chance to form, give it a chance to grow. A chance to grow and a chance to glow, as I say. Alright, so that was ash. Ash reload. Ash base. Okay. On chestnut. Crutch drill, spindle, reloader, torque spindle. Okay. Very nice, right? This one's walnut, and just to kind of give you an idea that you could make it out of all kinds of woods, right? Any wood you like. Alright, so our next one that we're going to do is one that I have a term of endearment for, and I call it Tiny Tim. And it's literally made from a medical crutch. Okay? Now you can see the centerpiece here of these new medical crutches. They're adjustable. When you push the buttons in, the height can adjust to whatever height you need. Like when you have to be off your feet, okay? So I took one of these and I took out the center piece, and that's this piece here, okay? Now these center pieces are, this can telescope from 16 inches all the way to 24. So we can start off in a sitting position, because that's what we're doing at this point. But by pressing the button, you can do this in a kneeling position. Alright, in Shiko or Kiza or one of those that you prefer. The top part here, the lumen is about 7/8 of an inch. and the lumen of the bottom part here is about 1 inch. And the reload that we have here is a very large piece of yucca. And as you can see, it's larger than the diameter of this spindle itself. So that means that this is not a torque spindle. All right. It's hose clamped in. It's cut and quartered here at the bottom. Now the top is basically just the machine way it was made, the aluminum, because it's aluminum too. All right. Now the brace end is very large, so we need a large brace end socket. So we're going to use the pine banister. And just to change it up a little bit, we're going to do the Egyptian method with our Osage orange bow, half bow. All right. So again, we're going to wind up toward the tip multiple times until we get the tension just right. Okay. Work that down. So why don't we just go ahead and do this in the tall kneeling position. Okay. The base is Atlantic white cedar. I think you've seen this one before. All right. Let's pick a good one here. Let's try that one. Now, I prefer Kiza if I'm not in Chico. Okay, this one in the triangular position, you can see that I'm up on my toe here. All right, got one leg forward, and I can get my whole upper body weight right on top of that drill. But when you're in Seiza, all your body weight is down here and seated. So basically, just like with doing a cross-legged sitting, you're just putting your back into it, and you don't have your whole body weight basically resting on top of it. So I kind of like Kiza. Kiza, if you remember, dangerous position, dangerous sitting is up on your toes. Okay, Seiza is correct sitting, and Kiza is dangerous sitting in Japanese. At least this way, I feel like I can get my body weight on top of that spindle. Okay, doing it this way. So what I usually do is put a board under one knee, usually my left, because the spindle is sitting under my the pressure arm brace on my left shoulder. Now I'm going to take a shoe and rest my knee on that. Let's turn that around. Just for comfort, really. And then with the other shoe, then that's very comfortable for my knees. Save your knees. Okay. Make sure you have room for the hose clamp if you have one on the bottom there. All right. And let's give it a whirl. Now the brace end is very large, so we need a large socket. Hopefully that'll stay in there very well. Let me just angle that a little differently. You can see that popping out. That's not good. It should be a little deeper then, right? That could hit you in the face potentially. This is why you need a deep socket. It's good that you see this. Now you can see the problems with it not being a torque spindle. When the diameter of the reload becomes larger than the spindle itself, yes, it can spin faster than the spindle, but you need a lot more energy, okay? And it can bind up on you. See that? And I'm just destroying everything there. So what if, now that you see the problems with that, what if I put a smaller spindle in there? Let's see the difference, okay? Let's be right back. Alright, so we're back. We made the adjustments we needed to make. Okay, we have a smaller spindle now, okay, which is 1 inch and about the same size as the lumen of the spindle itself. Now, you saw that this was popping out. Well, we made the socket hole larger so that it won't pop out this time, okay? And it's good you see these things that need to be done, because it's not magic. It doesn't happen all by itself. So I'm resting on my shoes. I'm resting up for the Kiza position. Okay. Now let's see if this looks and works smoother than before. Big difference, right? Use the elbow. The reload, by the way, is Atlantic white cedar. So we did Atlantic white cedar on Atlantic white cedar. The coal split in half. One here and one here. So let it form. Let it grow. Let it glow. All right? And we're going to do some more kneeling ones. Okay? On to the next. All right. So for some more kneeling spindles, you already just saw the aluminum metal one, Tiny Tim, the Crutch one, literally. But here I have just a plain aluminum tube, which is 1 inch in diameter. Now, the brace end is a plug of oak, which I shoved in there. It's quartered, so it's cut, and it has a reload of Atlantic white cedar. So we kind of just saw that, so I'm going to put this one aside because it's almost basically the same thing you just saw. Okay. Now, this one is a copper tube, which is very similar to the copper you saw before for the bow drills. So the diameter of this one is 1/2 inch, and it's quartered to fit a reload with a hose clamp. Okay. This has a plug brace end of antler, which was shaped and carved to fit in there, and fits very well. Now here's the thing, I'm going to caution you about getting thinner as a spindle when doing the crutch drill, because you really want torque, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a torque spindle, but you don't want to go thin, you don't want to go thinner when you're getting larger in size, like for the crutch drill. Okay, you have to balance out the diameter of the spindle according to the technique you're doing. Okay, so you don't really want to go this thin. You could pull this off, and one of the reasons why is because it's very solid. Okay, it's not going to bend in the middle. It's not going to top the audio on you. And the other thing too about when you're using metal is the cord can slip. Even though it's bound around multiple times, the cord just kind of slips around because it has no friction. Okay, now the fact that it's thinner makes it even harder. So here you have no friction on the spindle itself, and it's thinner. So there's a greater chance of it actually losing cord friction around the spindle. So you don't really want to go that route if you can help it. Okay, so we're going to put that aside. It can be done, but we're not going to do that. Now, before you saw the bamboo spindle I had that was about 2 feet long, 24 inches around in the beginning, and you saw it bend. Well, same thing for something like PVC. Okay, so if I were to do this with a unilateral force with this PVC, you could see that it would bend from side to side, and that's not good. Now this went really well for a bow drill spindle, okay, and it could probably go well too for a Egyptian drill, because as we mentioned before, the length of the spindle comparatively, okay, is a greater chance of a take ori. Okay, so the farther distance between the ends with the unilateral force, the greater the distance of a take ori. Well, this probably won't break, but it will bend. Okay, and we don't want that. If you're going to have something that's really long with a great height, it should be very solid so that it doesn't do that. So this could work. It has a plug of Atlantic white cedar with a oak brace end. If I was very careful, I could get away with it, but this is not something that you would choose right off. You especially wouldn't do this for a demonstration. So we're going to put that one aside, even though it can be done. Now, in regards to plastic or acrylic or something of that nature, you may remember this piece being familiar from the bow drill, okay, except the piece was only 7-8 inches long. Okay, well this one's a lot taller, and it can bend in the middle. All right, it's bendy like the PVC, not as much, but it can bend. Okay, it can get a bend in it, but in this instance, what can balance this out is that it is a torque spindle, because the diameter of this spindle is 3/4 of an inch. Okay, but the reload is 3/8 of an inch, which is a lot of torque. Okay, now if you have this PVC, okay, which is 1/2 an inch as a lumen, I believe, okay, and if you notice the reload is larger than the diameter of the spindle itself, even though the reload will spin faster, it's not a torque spindle, okay? Now, which will make it bind even more, and the unilateral force is going to work harder on the center to try to make this move, and greater chance of it bending and doing a take ori, okay? But if I was to turn this into a torque spindle, where the reload is of a smaller diameter, well then the unilateral force will be less in the middle and it'll be more focused on the reload. Okay? If you can understand the physics of that. Now, to kind of demonstrate that a little bit, even though this acrylic, it's not a tube, it's a solid rod, it is very bendy. We're going to use it, but we're going to use the 3/8 inch bamboo reload that's in there on our bamboo spatula handle base. Okay. I'm going to get in Kiza. I'm going to put my shoe on the base. in my other shoe on my other foot. Okay, getting Kiza, and we're going to use our hickory mole handle. Now, because it's a torque spindle, it has to do less work. I'm going to choke up a little bit. Now you can see it bending in the middle, but it doesn't seem very strained to be able to get this to work. Okay. And there's our coal. And as you can see, that wasn't a whole lot of work. All right. So you have to balance out your principles. Okay? Balance them out and play with them. All right? Now I'm going to show you some kneeling torque spindles. All right? Be right back with that. All right, so our next kneeling position spindle is a torque spindle. Now, this is a 24-inch oak dowel spindle. It is 1.25 inches in diameter, pretty much throughout. And the hole, the base end socket hole, is 1/2 inch. However, the reload that we have in there is 5/8 of an inch in diameter. So that makes this actually a torque spindle, right? Because the diameter of the spindle is larger than the diameter of the reload. This is a oak spindle, and if you recall, we tried doing all those woods that we could not do for the bow drill. We did chestnut, we did swamp maple, we did sassafras, but there was one more. There was oak that we didn't get. And oak, on the Jonka tests, is more or less 1,300, 1,300. So here we have a reload of oak and an oak base. Okay. Now this this oak base was also a oak dowel, and it was flattened, cut and flattened to be made into a base. Okay. Now the notch faces toward you, although it's hard for you to see. And we're going to get back into our classic Shiko position, up on one knee. First we're going to strain our spindle. We're going to do the moderated method of mine. Work that up toward the tip. Work that down a little bit. Okay. We'll use our hickory mole handle. Okay, roll my sleeve a little bit there. I'm in a good solid triangular position. Now we're just going to get it warmed up. Good easy strokes. You can see it's already smoking. Here's the whole bow. Just go for it. And there's our oak coal. As you can see, that was much easier than the bow drill. And even though we have some black striations, it's a coal, it's lit up. So let it grow, let it glow. There we go. Oak on oak. All right. And on to our next one. All right. So our next one is, again, 24 inches tall for a kneeling height. Okay. Now the base end down here measures to be a diameter of about 1.5 inches. Okay. Now what this was what's left over of that ash tool handle that we got at the hardware store. Now the top part of this was made into Egyptian drill spindle, and this is one of the lower portions of the tool handle for like shovels or a hole digging tool, things like that. Now the base and socket hole down here is 1/2 inch. However, the reload is again 5/8 of an inch. So here we have about 1.5 inches compared to 5/8 of an inch in diameter difference. Okay, so this is obviously a pretty good torque spindle. All right, and we're going to try and do something interesting. The reload is Osage Orange, which I believe on the Jonka test is approximately 2,400. And we have a base of Osage Orange as well. So Osage Orange on Osage Orange. The reload again is 5/8 of an inch in diameter. Okay, it's mated, has a notch in it. All right, we're going to get back in our Shiko position. We're going to wind that up. Work it down a little bit. Okay. Again, we're going to use our pine banister pressure arm brace. All right. I'm going to put my shoe under my knee. I'm on a slate floor, which doesn't feel very good. Always protect your body. Whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, let's roll up my sleeve again. I'm going to work that down a little bit. The bow's not at the height that I'm really comfortable at. Better. All right. Get a little wider, a little straighter. Warm that up. Use the whole bow. little bit of speed. Again, we have to make it up with speed because of the diameter difference. And let's see how we did. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you get a coal with Osage orange. Reload and spindle. Reload and base, excuse me. Alright, there you go. Alright, so we'll do some standing ones and keep moving. Alright, let's go. Alright, so welcome to the epimethei section of the crutch drill, of the bow drill. And so, like I had mentioned before, this is one of my most favorite ways to teach children how to do this, and to kind of give them a little bit of a success. So, in a second I'm going to have my son kind of demonstrate how he does it in a standing position. But first let me show you what he's using. We're going to do this on the 2x8 board, and his base is a thin section of pine, lumber pine. Okay, you can see it's mated and it has a notch, and as you can see it's made stable for him. Okay, he's going to be using a 30-inch tense pole. Okay, you can see the tip there. Now, the reload is a piece of yucca. The tent pole, though, itself is 5/8 of an inch in diameter. So it would probably be better if this was more of a torque spindle for him. I mean, that just overall makes it easier. But he has the ability to pull this off. We're going to use the hickory maul handle. Okay. So Jay, come on over. And, okay, you're going to put your foot on the board like you did before. Okay, move it over a little bit. And you can see this is bound around in the moderated method, especially since this is a little slippery with the metal. Okay. I'm just going to put this underneath his arm. And he already knows that he has to be careful because if he rolls this, this could potentially go near his face. He holds it all the way at the back, okay, and he's just going to get it warmed up. Okay, go ahead. I'm just kind of holding it still for him a little bit. Okay, because I just don't want him to have an accident. Keep going. The trick is really for them to just keep on going and to not stop. Okay, keep going, keep going. That's it, that's it. Alright, very good. So we lift that up. And here's the proof. Okay. Here's his coal. I'm going to remove the base. And there's his coal. Yucca on pine. And for safety reasons, I just held on to the handle just a little bit. But he's 9 years old. And as you can see, he does have enough of these gross motor skills to be able to pull something like that off. Okay? Highly recommended for kids that are able to at least hold those things into position. And you have to play it by ear. You can't just go by age. Everything should be uniquely tailored to each kid as you go along. In fact, the more techniques you learn, you should keep in mind how to balance each and everything for each and every child. Alright. So we're going to move on to something pretty spectacular, the giant drill, which is a huge version of the bow drill. Alright, I think that's pretty fun. Alright, let's keep going. So my son wants to try again, but all by himself without me helping him. So we're going to do that. Alright, first to show you, the notch in the base is empty. There's nothing inside. Okay. And same setup as before. Yucca reload on pine. Okay. Alright, Jake, come on over. adjusting the cord. Okay. Put your foot on there. Get in position. Okay. All right. Now don't let this roll. Okay. Your safety is more important than anything. Put your hand all the way at the back. Okay. Ready? Don't let it roll. Keep it flat. All right. Okay. Keep this straight. This has to be straight up and down. Okay. Ready? Okay. Don't let it roll. Okay. Go. Don't let it roll. That's it, Jake. Okay. Don't let it roll. Keep it flat. Keep it flat. That's it. That's it. Keep going. That's it. Don't stop. Keep this flat. Keep it flat. Okay, go. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Nice and long. Keep going. You could do it. You could do it. You could do it. Don't let it roll. Okay, okay, okay. Careful. Let's see. Here. Oh, almost. Okay. You got it right nice and warmed up. So we're just gonna, all you have to do is keep going, okay?
Yep.
Okay. Don't let it roll. Move up a little bit more. There you go. Okay. Don't stop. Oh. That's all right. That's all right.
That happens. Hold on.
That's all right. Just be patient.
Like always.
Just have to be patient.
Kind of didn't get hurt.
It's more important you don't get hurt. Okay. All right. Almost there. Now don't let this roll. That's very important, okay? Okay, warm it up. Okay, nice and long. Long strokes. Play the cello. Okay, got it? Okay, just don't stop. Keep going. Okay, push that down a little bit. Okay. You know what? Hold on. Okay. You can do it. Just keep going. Oh, that's all right. Don't lift up, okay? That's what makes it dangerous. It's all right. Just be patient. Let go. All right. Try again. Doing good. Play the cello. There you go. You can do it. Just keep going. Just don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. That's it. That's it. That's it. Just keep going. Push, pull. Push, pull. That's it. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. You could do it. Keep going. A little bit more, a little bit more. Faster, 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 faster. Okay. Oh, Jake, you did it. Very good. You did pull it off. Just with a little bit of coaching. Okay. Awesome job, Jake.